as we just started. And today we have a webinar on themed Friend or Foe, potential regulatory frameworks for the use of AI and machine learning in the built environment. I am Stravodimos from ACP. And today's agenda includes many topics. Present you the potential of AI in the evolution of the systems, some key strategies and policies that guide the development of and the deployment of AI, AI data-driven tools that have been also implemented in different EU-funded projects, and AI for personalized comfort, advanced stakeholders identified with regulatory frameworks, and finally, some keynotes on the regulation framework. A Q&A will follow with a discussion. Today's webinar is organized under a funded project principles. And let's proceed with the first presentation. I give the floor to Stravodimos from NTA.
Thank you very much, George. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm Stravodimos, a researcher at the Energy Policy Unit of the National Technical University of Athens. Today, we are going to discuss, in my session, we are going to discuss the potential of AI in the evolution of building management systems. But why it is important to bring AI into building management? First, buildings are centered in energy and climate strategy in EU, and especially through the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, which aims for a fully decarbonized building stock by 2050. So, AI can be a game changer in building management by continuously tuning systems to save energy. Secondly, building management is complex, so multiple systems should interact, and manual settings often can leave efficiency on the table and might be really difficult to be applied. So AI is able to fastly analyze data from HVAC, lighting systems, and other management systems in real time and orchestrate them more optimally than a human operator. This means that AI can see multiple parameters, and apart from the energy aspects, also optimize the comfort for the occupants of a building. As regards the capabilities of AI in building management systems, IoT sensors are able to measure several parameters across the building zones, the environment, and generate a rich data picture of a building. This data picture can yield high precision data in order to achieve better accuracy and improve decision makers for the decision making for the occupants and the managers of the buildings. This way, we can generate better insights and provide detailed environmental occupancy energy data, and also understand the patterns of the different systems and the occupants through AI, and optimize, of course, based on them, the operations of a building. This way, we can achieve energy savings, and we've seen in practice that sensors are key to trimming the waste of energy and other uses of a building. And for example, in energy, AI can reduce energy cost by up to 30%. Now, A critical piece in building management is, of course, data quality. And many times we focus on algorithms, but if the input data of an AI model or a service is poor, even the most complex model is subject to fail. So we need to ensure that data coming from IoT devices, which are the data sources for AI in building management, we must ensure that data is accurate, timely, and consistent. But another important aspect, apart from consistency and accuracy, is to be able to integrate multiple data from the buildings in order to have a better picture of the different aspects that may affect the energy and comfort and other aspects of a building's energy use. Finally, two important aspects are governance and security. We must mention these aspects. These systems contain and communicate data important for the occupants and personal data. So it is we should always ensure that information and data that are used are always protected. In order, all these will lead AI applications in building energy management to more reliable AI outcomes. As regards the different fields that we can apply AI and different applications of AI in building management, as you can see in my slide, I provided 5 which are the more indicative. First of all, energy optimization can be achieved through AI algorithms by analyzing the usage patterns and by adjusting the systems in a building. We can also achieve personalized comfort through learning and collecting feedback from the users and adjusting the IoT devices and the controls of a room based on an occupant's based on the occupant's needs. AI can also be a very useful tool for maintenance and fault detection. Simply because the first most important aspect is that it can offer 24/7 monitoring of a building and tracking the performance of the different systems of a building and able to identify faults that need attention immediately. And the cornerstone of AI application in building management, of course, is the autonomous control. So through complex models, it is important to know that AI can enable an autonomous BMS and operate it optimally as regards all the aspects that we discussed before, but also many more. Now, to conclude, from a policy perspective, I think from my side, even though I'm not a policymaker, but as I can think of it, it is really important to embrace AI in building management, since it can help us achieve many high-level goals. We can see also an indicator that is really well known or becoming more and more well known across Europe, which is the Smart Readiness Indicator, whose aim is to understand how smart a building is. So we can see that governments across Europe and the European Commission has recognized how smart control can benefit the energy and carbon targets in buildings. So AI can act here as an enabler by actively managing energy consumption. The strong policy that policy interest in promoting these technologies can be seen as a way to also improve the compliance with standards across Europe. And as a final comment, what is important for this to work for the AI application in building management? The interoperability is really a key for the AI integration and AI application. So the usage of open protocols and the exchange of data should be encouraged. However, as I also said previously, the governance of such systems is crucial. So clear guidelines on data privacy, on cybersecurity for the data used in AI and how the AI is operating and how it exploits this data need, of course, to accompany the tech provided via AI applications. So that's all from my side. Thank you all.
So our next speaker is from Integrate, Daniela Stoyan, presenting AI data-driven tools and methods for digital twins.
Thank you, George. I'm Daniela Stoyan. I'm a researcher in NTUA, and today I will talk to you a little bit about the AI services we have developed in DigiBuild, how they are integrated in our digital twins, and how they add value for different stakeholders. So an overview about digital twins in general. As you know, they are at the forefront of Industry 4.0 and generally in the digitalization of buildings. And in DigiBuild, they are also very important because they bring together high quality data and the AI services we have developed. And we have various digital twins about future buildings, optimal energy management, renovation strategies, district heating, and we also have a digital building logbook. So in order to make these digital twins, we have used the stakeholder needs and high quality data to deliver data-driven AI-based services. In these services, we utilize mainly algorithms and AI or ML models. And as you can see here, we have multiple categories that we cover with our AI services, including energy profiling and forecasting, energy resource management, comfort and well-being, renovation, and also climate resilience. So I want us to take a look into some of our digital twins and what services they have integrated and how they are presented and add value to the different end users. So our first digital twin is about designing future buildings. We have 3 different services. One AI-based services for performance monitoring and benchmarking, a service that basically produces forecasts for energy assets and also establishes benchmarks for performance assessment. We also have a very important AI service about comfort and well-being that forecasts indoor conditions and optimizes user comfort. We also have a third one, which is the comfort performance contract, which does not use AI explicitly, but uses the forecast from the previous service as inputs in order to optimize indoor air quality and do a budget simulation and refinement. You can see here this first digital twin and how it is presented to the user. We have the two services about indoor conditions, and you can see here that we have the forecast below, and on the upper side we also have some information about the indoor conditions. Moving on to this screen, we also have some forecasts about various conditions such as temperature, humidity, etc. And we also have the comfort monitoring and option to provide feedback. This is very useful, a very useful digital twin, especially for building and facility managers, since they are able to monitor their building and get alerts for anomalies that may happen. They are also able to maintain comfort of the building occupants and receive feedback about the comfort and how they perceive it. And it also reduces energy consumption and carbon footprint. Moving on to the next digital twin, which is about optimal energy management. We have more services here. We have, again, a service for energy forecasting regarding energy consumption and energy production. And on the right, we also have a more specialized AI service about e-mobility, which does EV consumption estimation and carbon intensity evaluation. Both of these services give input and give their forecast to the power charging management service, which does EV charging planning in order to optimize the emissions. So you can see that AI is very important in digital, because even though we have services that don't use AI explicitly, they still require input from AI models. Then again, we have the carbon-free building, which also uses energy forecasts in order to first cluster buildings, and then for each cluster, maximize the usage of renewable energy. And finally, we have a standalone service about electric and thermal load management, which is more based on real-time management and energy consumption optimization. In our digital twin here, you can see first we have the aspect of real-time monitoring and also forecasting in the mainframe, and various aspects of the buildings are monitored. There is also the decision support service, which provides actions that about the EV charging. Then we move to some optimization strategies to maximize self-consumption. And again, we have some energy forecasts here, and also the footprint intensity assessment. This digital twin and the services it includes has multiple stakeholders that benefit building managers that can monitor their building and its performance, and also predict the carbon intensity. We have facility managers that can achieve electrical and thermal load management, and also EV fleet managers that can optimize the EV charging by setting charging schedules, and they also have the option of EV remote control. And some general values about this digital twin is that we can achieve energy consumption and carbon footprint reduction, as well as a reduction of the total energy costs, and we have better utilization of PV panels. Next, we have the digital building logbook. Some Services that we saw before but are very important here as well are the performance monitoring and comfort and well-being service. Both of these services are required for the proactive maintenance and facility management service, which basically allows the user to monitor their buildings and get alerts about potential anomalies or faults that have been detected. And we also have a standalone service about efficient and climate resilient buildings that is able to assess the climate resilience of a building. You can see here how this climate resilience service is presented in our digital twin with the different components, and you can also see the maintenance reporting of the building. These services are mainly important to building and facility managers since they can have a central repository for their buildings, and they can also achieve enhanced comfort and well-being and get automated building updates. Moving on to a different category, the district digital twin. Again, we have two very important services that are used throughout the digital build project, the performance monitoring service, which gives us forecasts of energy assets, and the comfort and well-being service, and again, the maintenance service. You can see in this digital twin, the user has some indoor temperature suggestions in order to improve their comfort, and they also get an analysis of the indoor conditions in general and the past data. Very important services for facility managers. They can achieve better building operation without reducing comfort of the occupants. They have the option to do simulations for operational changes, detect anomalies, and have visualizations of their building. Finally, we go into the district heating aspect, where we have the district network production forecasting service, which is used about providing actionable energy predictions and optimizing the network performance, and also the district network production economic optimization service, which optimizes operation of a district heating network in order to reduce emissions, gas, and of course, operational costs. You can see how it looks in our digital twin. We have the simulation service, which can provide different optimization results. And also we have the option to simulate different optimization strategies. This digital twin is also particularly important to facility managers and district heating network managers. It provides simulation environments for optimization strategies, real-time information about district heating network. It is able to increase energy efficiency while reducing costs. And it is also able to provide network control and have optimal performance. So these are all of our digital twins, and as you can see, AI plays a very big role in them and generally in how the users are able to optimize their building. So it is a very important aspect in digital. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the Q&A, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Daniela. I think, Marietta, we can go back to Miguel. So you can share the slide for him. Yeah, thank you. Or is yours, Miguel?
Yes, we have the slides now. Thank you so much, Mateo. My name is Miguel Alvarez. I work in the AI office of the European Commission in DG Connect. And this is one of the flagship initiatives we have in my unit that is called AI for Societal Good, where basically we develop solutions for the good of society, starting by providing AI-based tools for cities to set up local digital twins. So this is part of a digital local digital twin, toolbox. And I will present the AI-based tools for housing energy efficiency. So next slide. yes, I guess all of you understand what is a local digital twin. Just to refresh your minds, this is the definition we use with our constituency, with our network of cities and smart communities. Local digital twins is basically a digital replica of a city that helps to solve complex problems by using AI-based algorithms that are applied, allowing simulation to choose optimal scenarios. And in the next slide, we will see which scenarios we can think of. The toolbox, the EU Local Digital Twin Toolbox is a project, as I said, that is composed of tools enabling cities to simulate and predict scenarios by setting local digital twins. The tools allow cities to acquire and manage data and then model city elements and run simulations predictions in order to visualize the outcome of these simulations so urban planners can make informed decisions. So now in the next slide, please, we'll see the areas. Yeah, the main challenges and the main areas we are trying to address. There are certainly much more, but this is the kind of the first generation of tools for local digital twins that we are developing. Basically, we are addressing mobility planning, and for this we are developing models, algorithms based on artificial intelligence addressing low emission zones and simulators for these low emission zones, and also urban mobility models. Urban health, based also on these emission zones, we can also estimate what are the propagation, what is the propagation, the models of propagation of pollution in order to make informed decisions to optimize mobility, but at the same time reduce pollution in a city. Urban planning, for this we are building a EU building data set containing all cities in the European Union in almost 3D with the characteristics of the buildings, year of construction, typology, archetypes, and so on. Sustainability, also we are developing models to quantify what is the environmental footprint for a building, and what is more relevant for today is energy optimization. And here we are addressing two main use cases: neighborhood energy demand forecasting model. So cities based on the cities kind of based on this model can have a clear understanding on what is the energy demand that will grow in years to come. And in conjunction with utility companies, electricity companies, they can make the right decisions to improve, to upgrade the infrastructure for electric grid. And we also have energy efficiency model I will explain later on. So next slide, please. As I said, there are two major characteristics, two major pillars in this project. One is the foundation for setting up a local digital twin. For this, you need a virtual replica of a city. And for this, we are building a European building data set. The input is different data sources available in Europe. We have the main provider is GZF from Potsdam. But we are also using other repositories, cataloging and providing metadata information about buildings, namely UBUCO, Global Human Settlement Layer, from our colleagues of the Joint Research Center in the European Commission, the EU Building Stock Observatory, and the Valencian Institute of Building in Spain. And the output is a 3D city representation of the whole cities in the European Union digitalized. And models, what I mentioned before: mobility, reconstruction, building environmental footprint, neighborhood energy efficiency, and pollution propagation. Just for the sake of efficient with the time, I'm mindful of the time. Let's jump quickly to the two models I wanted to explain today thoroughly. So next slide, please. The first one is energy efficiency. And here, first of all, the input, of course, is the European building dataset, building archetypes. So basically with the building archetypes, the type of buildings, year of construction, type of materials, and other repositories like the European Building Dataset, we can quantify and estimate what is the energy efficiency of a building based on different parameters. And based on this, we can estimate some features like the annual carbon dioxide emissions, the estimated annual energy consumption, the projected annual energy costs for heating and domestic hot water, and the self-sustainability rate. And based on this, we can use the SAP score and energy efficiency category to categorize buildings. So it's providing, in a nutshell, the building environmental footprint model. Next slide, please. So for policymakers, there are certainly different application areas based on this model. First of all, the current status, gather evidence on what is the energy efficiency per building, and this way you can start quantifying how efficient your neighborhood it is in order to make informed decisions. The next step certainly is urban planning, test the impact of different current and forecasted energy demand. And based on this, we can plan sustainability actions to meet targets and enhance quality of life through effective environmental tracking and evidence-based strategies. Making some decisions like, what if I improve the insulation, the energy efficiency in these areas by setting up a public policy of subsidies, whatever, renovation. This way you can estimate how your sustainability goals can be achieved in the long term. Next slide, please. And the model 2 is the building environmental footprint, where basically you can estimate what is the current environmental print, and based on this, here we see like a plan of a city, estimate the type of renovation that is needed to achieve your environmentally friendly goals or sustainable goals. Here we say in red buildings that in principle they fall under the target score of footprint, so no renovation is needed, and others in yellow or green where renovation is needed depending on the energy efficiency. So you need more intense or less intense renovation strategies in this particular neighborhood. And next slide, I think that's all from my side. No. So for the building environmental footprint, policymakers' application areas, certainly urban planning, as I said, suggesting actuation areas to maximize impact, simulate what-if scenarios with a limited budget, and this way you can optimize key results, and sustainability, analyze investments required to achieve the target, support policy making with evidence, with a clear evidence on what is going to be the impact of any investment and renovation in buildings. And also you can track KPIs and update suggestions to achieve targets. And I think that's my last slide. Yes. So thank you so much for your attendance, and happy to take any questions later.
Our next presenter, Vittoria Cipollone.
Yes.
Presenting AI for personalized comfort.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, George, and thank you, everyone, for the previous presentations. I'm Vittoria Cipollone from Università Politecnica delle Marche, Italy, and I'm a PhD student. And today I will talk about how personalized comfort measurements are inside the European regulatory framework for the built environment. Next slide. Yeah, this is a simple overview of which are the points that we will touch during the presentations that more or less have been also touched by the previous ones. So we can go to the next slide and start with a brief overview of the scientific background that talk about comfort and artificial intelligence. You can see from the slide that comfort, and specifically the measurement of personalized comfort, is highly dependent on artificial intelligence for several reasons, starting from the need of accurate data from the environment and from the user in order to provide insights, future insights about the building from an environmental point of view. Second point from the literature, it is important to take into account the subjective experience of the user, because, as has been also mentioned, it is really important to consider that comfort from standards is defined as a subjective quantity. For this reason, user feedbacks are most of times taken into account, and they are also used for artificial intelligence algorithms to be implemented in order to provide measurements and estimates this kind of experience that people can have inside a certain facility. Facility that, remember, that are highly dependent on the energy aspects, for sure. That is the reason why the last point that emerges from literature is the importance of the bond between comfort, personalized comfort, and the energy efficiency of the building. So we can say that it is important to find a trade-off between the two elements in order to provide comfort-oriented strategies that improve also the energy performance of buildings. So you can see from the slide that the keywords that you can find in literature in this scientific background are artificial intelligence, data, user flow, user comfort, and energy. So everything that should be managed through the most important European regulations, such as GDPR, or also considering the smart readiness indicators that also studies have mentioned before. Next slide. Based on that, what we have done in DigiBuild is the development of the two services, comfort services, that you have seen in the previous slides also. The main goals are for sure measuring comfort through AI, but also manage energy from a comfort point of view. So considering the maintenance of comfort as one of the most important targets, and considering that the enhanced comfort and well-being service and the comfort performance contracts have been developed. The first one aims to develop models, AI models, with the aim of exploiting user feedback, environmental data, but also energy data to provide recommendations to the end user, which can optimize the indoor environments from an energy comfort point of view. So we can talk about the so-called coaching solution that you can see in the slide, because a recommendation will be given to the end user. Then we have the contract, which instead is a kind of, it's a contractual framework. So it's a document that we can say formalize the bond between comfort, between energy, and the consequent energy costs that are inside the market nowadays. And to go more in deep, let's go to the next slide with the first service, which here is described in terms of service flow. You can see that the inputs are data coming from the environment, coming from weather, coming from the energy, obviously, of the building, but also coming from the user, because we are talking about user feedbacks too. The application of AI brings to the quantification of optimal indoor temperature and humidity, which are the two conditions that the end user can manage directly from on the building. And these informations, together with also the predicted comfort level and the predictive indoor conditions, are included, as also Daniela has shown, to the DigiBuild visualization tools, so the digital twin or the digital building logbook. And here, in fact, the user can find the personalized recommendations that I mentioned before, which is at the base of the coaching solution, but he or she has also the occasion to provide the feedback about the thermal sensations. How? Next slide. In these terms, as regards to the user feedback, what we ask to the user is the thermal sensation vote in an anonymous way, for sure, which is a vote that is standardized by the ASHRAE 55 norm. And it is something that is time limited because what our aim was to take just a brief period of time of feedbacks in order to train the artificial intelligence model and provide an estimations of these sensations of the user inside the building. On the other hand, we have the recommendations that you can see in the slide. So the information that are inside the message for the user are these. And these are the conditions that the end user can directly control on the environment. So the user, he's aware of what is going on the building, and he's also aware of the fact that they can act on the environment and manage it. So we can say that in terms of GDPR, for instance, so data privacy, or in terms also of smart readiness indicators, everything is aligned because of how we handled the data collection part, but also the data processing part, and also considering the aim of the service. So energy efficiency, but for sure occupant comfort in the indoor space. Next slide. This is instead the second service, so the contract. Here we move on a contractual framework, which is basically based on the energy performance contracts that are emerging in this scientific field. The document presents three main sections where everything is clearly explained to the customer. So starting from the definition of the parties, we have the premises where the indoor environmental quality context is completely explained to the customer in order to make him or her aware of what is going on and what will be on the building. And then three articles are present considering the terms and conditions, the privacy and the data management, and the financial constraints. Next slide, please. So we can say that these are the four main pillars that are inside this second service, because next slide, sorry. And you can see that most of them are aligned with these regulatory frameworks, because we start with the parties definition, where the responsibilities of both people are explained and are put on a document. Then we have the part dedicated to the data management, so privacy and other things like that, that must be clear for the customer in order to go on with the process. And also considering how we manage the data collected from the environment is present. And then we can also talk about SRAI because of the aim of the service, as I said before. So the fact that we want to enhance the energy performance of the building, the sustainability of the building, but at the same time, the well-being and health of occupants inside the indoor environments. Next slide. So in conclusion, we can say that on one hand, we have the first service, which is focused on the comfort measurements, and here artificial intelligence is at the disposal of this kind of approach. Measurement of comfort that, as I said before, is strictly related to the most used standards that are in the framework of the comfort measurements, for instance, the ISO 7730 that you can see below in the slide, but they are also aligned to the regulations more related to AI, to data management, and so on. Same thing for the contract, as I said before. And so in conclusion, we can say that in general, in DigiBuild and in these services, for sure the data privacy is ensured. Then transparency is also present in all the services, together with the fact that for this service, so as regards to the personalized comfort measurements, we can say that the user is at the center of the whole process, because he had the control on the environment. So he is aware and everything is traceable. And for sure, these services are also open to modifications, to any kind of actually adaptation that they must undergo based on new regulations or updates and so on. So this is my last slide, I suppose. Next one. Yeah. So thank you for the attention. If you have any questions, we can discuss it about it. Thank you.
Victoria. On to the sun next. So, the share my screen, please. And sheet. So, technical difficulties today. Okay, I'm gonna present you regulation and what challenges should be considered in future policies. It's part of the two-part section in regulation, and I'll present it first. I'm just Stravodimos from ICP. Right now in the EU, we have an active regulation for artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's the European Union has enacted a comprehensive regulation for artificial intelligence. It's the AI Act. It was first entered into force in August 2024, and it has a strict deadline with specific milestones to be finally implemented by 2027. By August 2025, the first rules for high-risk systems should take effect, and by August 2026, the rules for general-purpose AI should also take effect. Finally, in 2027, we have a deadline for compliance, and we expect to have the AI office fully operational. This is more or less, if we wanted to try to have a policy roadmap for AI regulation aiming towards both short-term, medium, and long-term. This means in the next couple of years or 5 or even 10 years in the future. Our goal should be as identified to, first of all, build the foundation through the finalization of the risk-based frameworks and the setup of AI regulatory bodies and sandboxes, and then strengthen and expand the protections in the next 5 years by enforcing explainability, transparency, and bias auditing, align with global partners on shared AI safety principles, and mandate environmental impact disclosures for large AI models. We all know how energy consuming the framework for the AI development is. In a more long-term and future-proof, our goal would be to future-proof AI governance and update rules dynamically to adapt to new AI capabilities that should come in the future, and expand, of course, the human rights protection in AI. Regarding the digital twins, which is where digital is more focused, there is not a regulation exclusively targeting them in EU level, but we have identified several regulations and initiatives that support digital twins through the work done in policymaking in digital. We have identified the Data Governance Act, which is a 2022 regulation and aims to facilitate data sharing across sectors. The Data Act, which was a proposed regulation that seeks to harmonize rules of fair access to end use of data, and it emphasizes on interoperability and access by design, which ensures the data generated by devices and services can be accessed and utilized effectively. And this, of course, could affect the digital development. Then we have the Open Data Directive that we are all familiar with, and the Inspire Directive, which aims to establish a European spatial data infrastructure, facilitating the sharing of environmental and spatial information among public sector organizations. Finally, in the Environmental Information Directive of 2003, it ensures public access to environmental information shared by public authorities, which can support the environmental aspects of digital twin applications. Specifically in the digital project, our concept was we aimed to enhance the adoption and development concept of digital, facilitating a swift transition to a digital, sustainable, and resilient built environment across various European sectors and stakeholders. And the main objectives focused around scaling up our project and facilitating the widespread adoption and understanding of the concept, creating guidelines, developing a set of clear and actionable guidelines, along with a visual roadmap to guide stakeholders in the transition to a digital, sustainable, and resilient built environment. And of course, if it was possible to produce tailored recommendations aimed at foreign policymakers at both the EU and national levels. Finally, we wanted to support EU initiatives such as the EU BSO that focus on reducing whole life cycle carbon emissions. Our approach different steps. It was we initiated a holistic assessment of the related policies Then we performed an analysis of best practices and lessons learned from existing initiatives, develop a comprehensive set of guidelines and roadmaps, engage with stakeholders for validation and refinement of guidelines, and finally, create some policy recommendations. In the first identified related policy digital project had to do with the EU digital strategy, the EU adaptation strategy, open data directive, the European Data Act, energy performance of buildings directive, and the energy efficiency directive. More specifically, in the EPPD, together with the renovation web strategy, introduced the concept of digital building log (DBL), and mentions also the different tools and their associated levels and indicator levels, as the most important building information that has to be included in a digital building log. This, of course, analysis focused on specific articles on the EPPD. Regarding the Energy Efficiency Directive, it includes an overview of the buildings that do not reach the nearly zero energy buildings level and should be aggregated to the EU Building Stock Observatory. Specifically in Article 6, it says that it's publicly available and accessible data about building stock characteristics, building renovation and energy performance may be aggregated by the UBSO. This was also linked with work performed under specific parts of the project, mainly on the developed data space for buildings lake and the digital AI-based data-driven services. Of course, the digital twins. As part of this step, we also identified supporting legislation and mainly the European Green Deal that focuses to promote the integration of all building-related data and introduces the concept of digital building log, as we said. Also, in the Recovery and Resilience Facility and REPowerEU, there are specific mentions as well, and the Circular Economy Action Plan that recognizes DBLs as circularity enablers. The Energy Taxation Directive also, as per its last revision, tries to align taxation with energy and climate policies that would again need the development of specific tools such as DBL. Also, there are some reports that are linked to the digital building notebook. It's a reporting definition of DBL, the building notebook state of play that analyzes 40 building notebook type initiatives in different countries, and the study on the development of a European Union framework for digital building notebooks, where we can identify three main recommendations. Developing a standardized approach for data collection, data management, data accessibility, as well as its legal framework, develop guidelines on how to link existing databases, and launch publicly funded R&D projects to further explore the DBL concept and its implementation. Next step on our research was to identify good practices for the digital building logbook in different EU countries. We identified several, Belgium, Netherlands, France, UK, Austria, and Spain. Specifically in Netherlands, the CIRDAX example was very interesting, where it is used by government organizations as part of European programs, like the digital deconstruction, to explore the circular building agenda and private real estate organizations as a business support module for maintenance and renovation. Also, in the UK, the Residential Logbook Association was formed by several commercial parties to bring DBL to a common standard and promote data interoperability. And we see there how the market reacts as well in such innovations that bring forth the use of data and buildings. How should policymakers engage to overcome the challenges? There are specific challenges linked with AI regulation that have to do with risk categorization, transparency requirements, the data quality standards, and reliability issues. And specifically for the DBL, we have the semantic interoperability as a challenge, the data security, the data access and sharing again, and the standardization. Our own uptake to this would be for the policymakers to take on a specific approach and priority checklist, focusing on flexible regulation, human oversight by default, mandatory transparency, workforce transition support, combat misuse and deepfakes, and protect fundamental rights. Future policies for digital twins and AI in buildings must create a trusted, secure, interoperable, ethical, and inclusive environment, and they should focus on data governance, privacy, AI transparency, and accountability, while promoting open standards and sustainability. Embedding digital twins into EU frameworks like the APPD and the Smart Readiness Indicator, not as mandatory, but strongly incentivized, will accelerate smarter, greener buildings. Policies should support innovation that aligns with the Green Deal, Fit for 55, and digital transformation goals. That's all for me. Thank you. And we're here for any questions. Sorry also for all of the ambulance passing by, but we cannot control what's happening in the environment. Next on STEAM, Jensen from Trading.
Yes, I will give some slightly different perspectives. I think I do not represent academia, I represent industry. So, but actually I think it aligns pretty well with what we have heard already. I'm Danish. I represent the Dutch company Gradient. We do digital twins for real-time and end-to-end optimization of district heating systems, all the way from production to the connected buildings, and how the supply systems and the buildings can interact. And before this, I have spent more than 20 years working with smart metering in buildings, and I represent European Power in the Smart Energy Expert Group, and in Denmark I'm also a member of what is called the Danish Utility Digitalization Program, working with optimizing buildings, among others, in Denmark. And just take I can pull the next slide here. First of all, I think it's important to underline that buildings are super critical for the energy transition, right? For the path towards a climate neutral EU in 2050. And simply because it's a huge part of our energy consumption. And I always get back to a quote from Professor Brian Vad from Aalborg University, stating that energy efficiency and green transition goes hand in hand. We need to create 30% energy savings in buildings and then convert the rest of the energy need to green or renewables. So there's no conflict between green transition and focusing on energy efficiency and focusing on buildings. And if you break down these 30% energy savings in a rough order, you could say that 10% of that should probably come from user behavior, improved user behavior in the buildings. 10% should come from improving the building envelope, and 10%, the remaining 10% from improving the technical systems in the building, the control systems, both in the buildings and also in the supply, energy supply to the buildings, if it is for instance, a district heating network. And I think the good point here is that all three aspects needs digitalization, needs machine learning, AI technologies to succeed. We need that to better engage with the consumers, the end users. We need that, as we saw earlier, to automate the screening of buildings to identify potential improvements in the building envelopes. We need AI machine learning systems to control buildings better, control the interaction also to supply systems. Just to confirm that there is really a need to move on this agenda here. And I think it's also clear that there are certain regulatory issues, and maybe it's a little bit more practical here compared to the other issues that George just shared. But I think first of all, there will be no AI solutions or machine learning without data. So we simply need more frequent data from heating and cooling. And actually, I think the heating and cooling sector is lagging behind electricity here. Electricity has been an unbundled, or is an unbundled market, where there has been a need for smart meters to do the settlement, to be able to change supplier and so on in this free market. whereas heating and cooling area defined under the Energy Efficiency Directive, there are demands for smart meters, but not until 1st of January 2027. And even when these smart meters are implemented, data only needs to come back to the end user or the final customer on a monthly basis. And here I certainly think that we have something to improve. We need data on hourly and daily intervals to drive some of these new data-driven tools. Then I would really also like to see, let's say, stronger requirements or regulation about data-driven energy performance certificates of buildings. I think what we see as also numbers from Copenhagen in Denmark, where new buildings are actually consuming almost twice as much energy as according to the building code, meaning that we cannot rely on let's say categorizing the buildings just based on the materials used and how they're built according to which building code. We should actually categorize buildings based on actual performance. So we need to have these data available, the actual heat consumptions from the individual buildings, to be able to make this proper screening of the building envelopes, and or to identify these situations where systems in the buildings are simply not just commissioned well enough. We see in modern smart buildings that you can have intelligent components fighting against each other, or buildings that are simply not commissioned well enough. So we need to establish these data-driven performance certificates, and regardless if the buildings are supplied in a district heating network or if it's supplied by an individual heat pump, we need to have those data exactly on the heat demand in the buildings, because we need that to do the screenings. It's not enough, for instance, with individual heat pumps to have the electricity consumption only, because we need also to tell something about the actual performance of the heat pump. Then we need better access to data. I think that was also mentioned earlier. It's stated in the Data Act that there should be a fair and easy access to data. It's also mentioned in the EU Action Plan on digitalizing the energy system. Today, no data hub exists for heating and cooling data. So it's very difficult to get access to the data, and even more difficult to share the data with a third party who wants to offer services like the comfort services we were just told about. So we need somehow clear processes and requirements to be able to share data to third party, to empower consumers, to fuel innovation, and to fuel these performance services or comfort services or whatever it must be. This is actually something which we are currently working on in Denmark, so there could be inspiration to seek here exactly on how I, as an end user, can provide access to my data to a commercial third party. Then there is a point about finding the right balance in regards to the GDPR. When we build these digital twins of buildings, of supply systems to buildings, then we need the building data. In some countries, it's interpreted in the way that end users need to give consent for the energy provider or utility to actually take use of the data to build the digital twins and to optimize their operations. And of course, we need to take or have GDPR in mind, but also in GDPR Article 6, there are let's say, you have the statements about the public and legitimate interest. It's Article 6 E and F, where you are allowed to process data as a utility without the consent if you have a public and legitimate interest. Again, this is something that we have in place in Denmark. I think we need to have this in place, preferably in the entire European Union, that energy providers are allowed to use data, because if we only have consent for, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 50% of the consumers, we would lack accuracy in the digital twins when we use building data to build these digital twins. So it's hitting the right balance here and the right interpretation. And of course, when data is then given back to commercial third parties, then we need a consent. That is pretty clear. But the energy providers need access to use data. The fifth point I would mention is that we need to create incentives for building owners to improve the buildings based on the digital tools and services. I see in many cases today that the building owners can just pass the bill for inefficiency to the tenants. With these new digital tools, we can actually categorize the energy consumption, and we would need incentives for, let's say, the building owners not being allowed to pass the bill of this overconsumption or inefficiency to the tenants. To create the incentive to actually improve the buildings. And the last point I would like to mention in terms of regulation would be to walk the talk with public buildings. Let's be ambitious and start to implement these data-driven performance certificates in public buildings. Let's make the public buildings AI, ML ready with more frequent data. Make them smart, make them ready to participate with flexibility into demand response programs. In heating, we have seen examples where you can switch off heating, or you can, for several hours, you can preheat buildings without losing comforts for the tenants. There's so much we can do with digital technologies in the built environment. So let's do that and show the way with the public buildings. Yes, I think I hope this has served as some practical examples, and thank you for your attention.
Steve. And now we should go to our Q&A session. I would like to start it. It's not an issue. And I have a question for Miguel. The local digital twin tool that you presented was really interesting. But my question is, if there are any plans on linking it with existing digital building logbooks so that they could provide their input, and if there is a plan into integrating such a tool, either the same tool, the LDT, or a bigger version of it, in the building stock observatory that is about to go really wide in its implementation.
Thank you, George. Can you repeat the first question? Because as I'm accessing through the browser, sometimes the quality of the sound is not very clear.
I'm using headphones, perhaps that's an issue as well. I said, are you plan on linking it with market-ready digital building logbook solutions so that they could import their data as well? Of course, through a safe, either anonymous or other type of protocol, or even commercial protocol, I don't know. And the second part was if this will be considered as a tool, as an official tool for the BSO.
The second question, honestly, we need to reflect on this because the main stakeholders are our network of cities. And this way I will reply to the first question. What we are doing here, I didn't have time to further detail what are the plans of the Commission. At the end of the day, this is part of a major policy to support EU cities in the digital transformation. And for that, we have set up a cross-country, multi-country cooperation project that is called EDIC, EDIC stands for European Digital Infrastructure Consortium, and we have set up this consortium. It's about to be launched with a legal entity. It's composed of 14 member states, bringing together various cities. And through this project or this consortium, the goal is to set up a marketplace, bringing the potential consumers, the cities, and we have already the city representatives. Let's say this EDIC is called a local digital twin Cityverse. And the chairman is the city of Valencia, but is, as I said, composed of several cities, especially cities that are more advanced, covering with a span of 14 member states. So here we have the consumers, the cities, but the idea is also to engage technological companies, technological providers. So the tools we are developing here will be transferred to this consortium, and they will create a marketplace with open source communities, technological providers, and this way the tools can be refined, tailored, and so on and so forth. And we are also in contact with standardization institutions in the European Union, basically CENELEC and ETSI, to standardize a reference architecture of a local digital twin, and to standardize some reference specifications that we are using for building these tools. And these specifications have been defined in another major European project bringing together smart cities. A project is called Living in the EU. So basically, in a nutshell, it's now for the EDIC, once we transfer the tools and the EU building data set and the AI-based algorithms, they will have a kind of independent governance, and they can certainly have the mission. They will have the task to make these tools available to all cities in Europe, and to make it available and to let's say to have links with major initiatives. So the one you mentioned, certainly it would be one in the radar, but at this stage it's very early for me to comment on this.
Very much, Miguel, for these insights, and I think that we will all keep a track on EDIC. It sounds very promising. Next on, I will have a question for Victoria regarding the certificate, the contract performance certificate, the comfort performance certificate, sorry. Do you think that in the near future, AI could be integrated actually in calculating these CPCs, making them, a bit more commonly used through AI? A resident could just answer a questionnaire, and the AI could, along with the different data available through IoT devices, etc., calculate lively a CPC for a specific residency, thus leading perhaps linked with some NEBs, some non-energy benefits, to a more monetarized version of the value of the CPC. Do you find this possible in the near future?
You mean as the CPC as like the energy performance certificates, so a level to calculate considering
more like
energy?
Something that you could trade for. For example, a higher CPC could lead to some value that could be linked to the renovation.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything.
You mean like based on the contract, you apply in a certain facility, calculate a certain index, which gives the comfort and energy efficiency level of that building to see also the renovation that can be applied, as also we've seen during the more or less.
Exactly, and even more, consider it a NEB, a non-energy benefit that could be in turn included in the potential, let's say, payback period of a renovation.
Yeah, for sure, it's something that should be included in the whole framework of this contract, and artificial intelligence will be the basis, because we all know how data can be more or less easily handled with artificial intelligence. So based on that, we can for sure give insights about comfort, see how energy consumptions of the building responds to this kind of application based on the contract that you want to apply, and see in compliance with what has been estimated, how the building can be renovated for sure. Yeah. I think it is a good next step for this kind of application.
Thank you very much. And then from Steam, I noticed, Steam, that you, of course, all of the market values a lot data. So far, we have available free public data, and there are also paid versions of that. Regarding what you're developing, Mark, would you consider paying for the data that is being collected through the different tools and technologies that were presented today, so that it could support again? I'm focusing again on the renovation, since it was a main part of digital. Would you consider that you would pay for data that would in turn pay for the renovations of specific buildings, having the data from the before and after a condition of a building that is about to be renovated, leading to an amount of money that you would pay as a company to get this data and in turn finance these renovations, partially, of course, since for this time.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I think, to be honest, we are more in the supply system than we are in the building itself when it comes to the digital twins. I'm a little bit skeptical about that model. I think I would rather like to see, also as it proposed in the Data Act, that I, as an end user, can get access to my data. I can provide my data to somebody, some service providers who can actually support me. So how the service providers would then build a business model can be flexible, but I would rather like to see requirements that we kind of have an open access to data.
Thank you very much. And you have, I guess, one question, since we're on time and we should close this interesting webinar, from Stravodimos and LTUA.
Yes, George. No. Everything is okay. No question from my side.
You had the raised hand, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
that's my fault.
thank you very much for this, and I hope that we can meet again in a future webinar on this related topic. And AI sounds very promising, but also very challenging, especially in terms of regulations and the different policies involved. That we're happy to see that they are also interesting for the market as well. Thank you. Any words from Matteo, who's also organizer?
Thank you, George. And I would like to thank all of the participants for this webinar. And remember to follow us on the social media, even if this project is coming to an end. But yeah, we will keep you posted on the last mile of this project. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.